What if the key to understanding the ancient history of Asia lies not in forgotten artifacts or faded manuscripts, but within the intricate strands of DNA passed down through generations? Across the vast landscapes of East Asia, where ancient civilizations once flourished, DNA has emerged as a powerful tool to decode mysteries that have eluded scholars for centuries. It holds answers to questions about who we are, where we come from, and how interconnected human history truly is. The story begins with the realization that DNA is not just a biological blueprint, it's a time capsule. Locked within the genetic code are echoes of ancient migrations, cultural exchanges, and pivotal moments in human history. For decades, researchers relied on archaeological evidence to piece together the past. While these efforts revealed much about the lives of ancient people, they left many questions unanswered, particularly about the origins and movements of populations across East Asia. Recent advancements in paleogenomics have transformed this narrative. With the ability to extract and analyze ancient DNA, scientists have opened a new chapter in the study of human history. China, a country with a history spanning millennia, has become a focal point for this revolutionary research. Its vast territory and diverse populations make it an unparalleled resource for uncovering the genetic stories of East Asia. Imagine tracing the genetic threads of ancient populations to reveal their migrations, interactions, and adaptations. For instance, DNA evidence shows that ancient northern and southern populations in China were once far more distinct than they are today. How did these groups merge over time? And what forces drove their integration? These questions are now being answered through the lens of genetic research, providing a level of detail previously unimaginable. But why does this matter? Understanding ancient DNA isn't just about looking back. It's about understanding the forces that shaped our modern world. The genetic diversity within China, for example, provides crucial insights into how ancient populations adapted to their environments, developed agricultural practices, and formed the foundations of modern East Asian societies. The journey into ancient DNA is not just scientific, it's deeply human. It's a reminder that the past is alive within us, carried in every cell of our bodies. By unraveling the secrets hidden within DNA, we're not only exploring ancient Asia, we're uncovering the shared legacy of humanity. And this is only the beginning of what the study of DNA has to offer. Over the past few decades, DNA research has undergone a transformation, unlocking doors that were once closed to historians and archaeologists. It all began with the successful extraction of mitochondrial DNA from ancient remains nearly 40 years ago, a milestone that set the stage for a revolution. However, it wasn't until the advent of next-generation sequencing, NGS, technology in the early 21st century that the field of paleogenomics truly took off. These advancements weren't just about better tools. They redefined what was possible. With improved methods for extracting and analyzing ancient DNA, scientists began to uncover genomic information on a scale never seen before. Entire genomes from prehistoric populations could now be sequenced, offering a comprehensive view of genetic history that had previously been obscured. China, positioned at the crossroads of Eurasia, became a key area of interest for this emerging field. Its unique geographic location, linking North, Central, and Southeast Asia, meant it had long served as a melting pot of cultures and populations. This made China not just a repository of human history but a vital piece of the puzzle for understanding the genetic story of Asia as a whole. The central questions are compelling. Who were the first inhabitants of China? How did their DNA shape the populations of modern East Asia? These mysteries have sparked intense research efforts, revealing fascinating glimpses into the past. For instance, DNA studies have shown that ancient populations in China were far more genetically diverse than their modern descendants. What does this say about the migrations and interactions that shaped East Asia over thousands of years? Genetics isn't just about science, it's about storytelling. Every genome is a chapter in the epic tale of humanity. And with each breakthrough, we're getting closer to understanding how these stories intertwine, not just within China, but across the entire continent. One of the most fascinating discoveries in the field of paleogenomics came with the sequencing of the Qianyuan individual, a 40,000-year-old human whose remains were unearthed near Beijing. This ancient genome offered an unprecedented glimpse into the lives and migrations of early modern humans in East Asia. The Qianyuan individual's DNA revealed genetic characteristics strikingly similar to those of modern Asians. However, there was a twist. The genome also carried connections to ancient European populations from the same period. This surprising link suggested that humans were moving and interacting across vast distances even tens of thousands of years ago, long before recorded history. But what makes this discovery even more compelling is what it tells us about the diversity of ancient East Asia. The Chen Yuan individual was not a direct ancestor of modern Chinese populations. Instead, this genome represents one of many distinct populations that existed in the region at the time. It's a reminder that early humans in East Asia were far from homogeneous. They were part of a complex web of genetic diversity. Further evidence of this complexity comes from another discovery in the Amur region, where remains dating back 33,000 years shared genetic similarities with the Chen Yuan individual. These findings suggest that populations related to Chen Yuan were widespread in northern China before the last ice age. However, by around 19,000 years ago, a genetic shift occurred, and the Chen Yuan-related populations were largely replaced by groups more closely related to modern East Asians. This shift wasn't just a change in DNA. It marked a turning point in the story of East Asia. It hints at dramatic events, whether environmental, cultural, or migratory, that reshaped the genetic landscape of the region. The story of the Chen Yuan individual is a powerful reminder of how much remains to be discovered about our ancient past. Each new genome brings us closer to understanding the intricate tapestry of human history. As we unravel the genetic history of East Asia, one theme emerges clearly: a distinct genetic divide between ancient northern and southern populations. This divide, rooted deep in history, provides crucial insights into the movements and interactions that shaped the region's genetic landscape. Ancient DNA studies have revealed that populations in northern China were genetically closer to modern-day East Asians. These groups were primarily associated with colder climates and were likely early adopters of millet farming, a subsistence strategy that thrived in the arid plains of the north. Meanwhile, southern populations displayed a strikingly different genetic signature, one that aligns more closely with modern Austronesian populations found across Southeast Asia and Oceania. This divide was not static. During the Neolithic period, a wave of migration from the north began to reshape southern populations. As northern farmers expanded southward, bringing with them millet cultivation and other innovations, they mixed with the existing Austronesian-affiliated populations. This major episode of admixture created a genetic blend that became a cornerstone of modern East Asian populations. However, this wasn't a one-sided process. Southern populations contributed their own genetic signatures to northern populations over time, particularly as rice farming spread northward. This two-way exchange highlights a dynamic history of migration, integration, and adaptation. The genetic divide, while initially stark, gradually softened as these populations came into contact and blended over thousands of years. The implications of this divide go far beyond genetics. They speak to the cultural and linguistic diversity of East Asia, helping to explain why the region is home to such a broad spectrum of ethnic groups and languages. Understanding this ancient north-south divide provides not only a window into the past but also a deeper appreciation of the intricate forces that have shaped modern East Asian societies. The rise of agriculture wasn't just a technological revolution, it was a transformative force that reshaped the genetic makeup of East Asia. From the millet fields of the northern plains to the rice paddies of the Yangtze River Basin, early farming practices sparked migrations and interactions that defined the region's genetic history. In northern China, millet farming began around 10,000 years ago, becoming the cornerstone of early civilizations. This new way of life encouraged populations to settle and expand, leading to a northward migration into regions like the Amur River Basin and westward into Central Asia. Millet farmers brought not just their agricultural knowledge but also their genetic signatures, which are still evident in modern East Asian populations. Meanwhile, in the fertile lands of the Yangtze River Basin, rice farming emerged as a parallel development. Unlike millet, rice cultivation required wetter and more temperate climates, fostering a distinct way of life. As rice farming flourished, southern populations began migrating northward, contributing to genetic diversity in the Central Plains and beyond. These agricultural expansions were far from isolated. DNA evidence shows that as farmers moved into new territories, they interacted with and often absorbed local hunter-gatherer groups. This blending of populations wasn't just about survival. It laid the foundation for the cultural and genetic diversity we see today. One striking example comes from the West Liao River region, where millet farmers from the north met rice farmers moving from the south. These encounters weren't just exchanges of farming techniques, they also sparked significant genetic admixture. The result was a population with a unique blend of northern and southern genetic components, highlighting the profound impact of agriculture on human history. By driving population movements, farming shaped more than the landscape of East Asia. It transformed the very fabric of its people. The genetic imprints of these early farmers continue to influence modern populations, offering a glimpse into how agriculture became one of humanity's most powerful tools for change. Xinjiang, a region at the heart of the ancient Silk Road, holds a unique place in the genetic history of East Asia. Situated between East and Central Asia, it has long been a melting pot of cultures, languages, and populations. Recent genetic studies of ancient Xinjiang populations have uncovered a fascinating mosaic of ancestries, revealing how this region served as a vital bridge between East and West. One of the most intriguing discoveries comes from the Tarim Basin mummies, whose well-preserved remains date back to the Bronze Age. These individuals were genetically distinct from the surrounding populations, carrying a unique mix of ancient North Eurasian (ANE) and ancient Northeastern Asian (ANA) ancestry. What's remarkable is that their genetic profile remained isolated for thousands of years, despite the cultural exchanges that took place in the region. This genetic isolation contrasts sharply with the populations of the Dzungarian Basin in northern Xinjiang. Here, ancient genomes reveal a mix of ancestries from groups like the Afanasevo people of the steppes and local populations. Over time, this region became a hub of genetic diversity, reflecting interactions with populations from Central Asia, Northeast Asia, and even the Western Steppe. As we move into the Iron Age, the genetic story becomes even more dynamic. Populations in Xinjiang began incorporating genetic components from the Andronovo culture of Central Asia and East Asian groups, such as the Han and Xiongnu. These shifts in ancestry align with the region's growing importance as a crossroads for trade and migration along the Silk Road. The genetic history of Xinjiang also sheds light on the spread of technology and language. For instance, the presence of Indo-Iranian ancestral components in Iron Age populations points to the introduction of new technologies and possibly the spread of Indo-Iranian languages into the region. Xinjiang's rich and complex genetic history underscores its role as a gateway between worlds. The interactions and exchanges that took place here were not just local phenomena. They were part of a broader story of human migration and cultural evolution. Through the lens of ancient DNA, we can begin to unravel the deep connections that have shaped this region and its people. The coastal regions of China tell yet another captivating chapter in the story of East Asia's genetic history. Spanning from the northern shores of Shandong to the southern islands near Fujian, these regions were home to populations that played a pivotal role in shaping the genetic patterns of both mainland China and the broader Pacific. Genetic studies have uncovered two distinct lineages that emerged in these coastal areas during the Neolithic period. In the north, populations in regions like Shandong carried genetic components that are strongly linked to modern East Asians. These groups, thriving nearly 9,500 years ago, left a genetic legacy that extended beyond China, reaching as far north as Siberia. In the south, however, the story was quite different. Populations in areas like Fujian carried genetic signatures more closely tied to Austronesian-speaking peoples of Southeast Asia and Oceania. These southern coastal groups, dating back around 8,000 years, played a key role in the genetic ancestry of modern Austronesian populations. Over time, these two distinct coastal populations began to interact. Migratory movements and exchanges of ideas and technology blurred the once clear genetic divide. One striking example of this interaction is the spread of rice agriculture, which originated in the south but gradually made its way northward. This agricultural expansion was accompanied by genetic blending, narrowing the differences between northern and southern populations. The coastal regions also served as a launchpad for migrations that extended far beyond East Asia. Southern populations, particularly those near Fujian, contributed to the genetic makeup of Austronesian seafarers who would go on to populate the islands of Southeast Asia, the Pacific, and even Madagascar. Yet, even with this interconnectivity, some genetic signatures from these ancient coastal populations remain uniquely preserved in specific regions. For instance, the Guanxi ancestry, discovered in individuals dating back over 10,000 years, represents a previously unsampled genetic lineage that persisted until about 6,400 years ago. The story of China's coastal populations is a testament to the dynamic and interconnected nature of human history. It reminds us that even in ancient times, the seas were not barriers but bridges, pathways for people, ideas, and genetic diversity. These coastal communities were key players in the shaping of East Asia, leaving behind a legacy that continues to influence populations across the globe. The study of ancient genomes has not only reshaped our understanding of the past but also offered profound insights into the genetic connections between ancient and modern populations in East Asia. One of the most significant revelations has been the northward migration of rice farming populations from the Yangtze River Basin and how it influenced the genetic composition of modern Han Chinese. During the late Neolithic period, rice farmers from the south began moving into the Central Plains, regions traditionally dominated by millet agriculture. This migration wasn't merely a movement of people. It was a cultural exchange that introduced new farming techniques, dietary practices, and, of course, genetic signatures. Over generations, the mixing of northern millet farmers with these incoming rice-based agriculturalists helped shape the genetic diversity of the region, which remains evident in populations today. Modern Han Chinese populations, the largest ethnic group in the world, reflect this blending. Genetic studies have shown that their ancestry includes significant contributions from both northern and southern populations, creating a unique mosaic that spans East Asia. Interestingly, the Han populations in northern China have a greater proportion of northern ancestry, while those in southern China show more southern genetic influence. This gradient of genetic diversity is a living testament to the migrations and interactions that have taken place over millennia. But the story doesn't stop with the Han. Ancient DNA reveals that Central Plains populations were part of a broader network of genetic exchange. They shared genetic components with surrounding regions, from the Tibetan Plateau to Inner Mongolia. These interactions weren't one-way. Populations from the Central Plains also migrated outward, contributing to the formation of Sino-Tibetan-speaking groups and influencing genetic patterns as far as Southeast Asia. Through these ancient genomes, we gain a clearer picture of how interconnected East Asia has always been. It's a region shaped by constant movement of people, cultures, and ideas. The genetic legacy of these migrations and interactions is embedded in the DNA of millions of people today, linking them to a history that spans thousands of years. Despite the remarkable progress in understanding the genetic history of East Asia, many questions remain unanswered, highlighting the complexity of human migration and interaction. Each discovery, while shedding light on one part of the story, opens new avenues of inquiry. One of the most intriguing mysteries is the ancestry of the Tibetan people. While genetic studies suggest links to ancient northern Chinese populations, the high-altitude adaptations seen in modern Tibetans point to unique evolutionary pressures. How did these genetic traits evolve, and what role did interactions with neighboring populations play in shaping their distinct genetic profile? Another key question revolves around the timing and nature of interactions between northern and southern populations. While genetic evidence confirms that significant admixture occurred during the Neolithic period, the precise dynamics of these migrations, whether driven by environmental factors, resource competition, or cultural exchanges, remain unclear. The origins and expansion of ancient farmers from the Yangtze River Basin also present a fascinating puzzle. These populations not only influenced the genetic makeup of southern China but also left their mark across Southeast Asia and Oceania. What motivated their migrations, and how did they adapt to new environments as they moved outward? As research continues, new methods and technologies are offering hope for answers. Advances in bioinformatics, proteomics, and paleogenomics are allowing scientists to analyze DNA from previously inaccessible sources. For example, regions of China that remain underrepresented in genetic studies, such as Central China, hold enormous potential for uncovering new patterns of migration and interaction. The integration of genetics with other disciplines, archaeology, linguistics, and anthropology, is also proving invaluable. By combining these perspectives, researchers can create a more holistic picture of how ancient populations lived, moved, and interacted. These interdisciplinary efforts are crucial for answering broader questions about the formation of modern Chinese civilization and its connection to the rest of Asia. Ultimately, the study of ancient DNA is a journey with no end. Each piece of genetic data adds depth to our understanding, but it also reminds us of how much we still have to learn. The secrets of East Asia's genetic past are far from fully unlocked, but with each discovery, we get one step closer to piecing together the intricate puzzle of human history. The study of Chinese DNA has revealed a stunningly intricate tapestry of migration, interaction, and evolution. It's a story that spans tens of thousands of years, weaving together the lives of ancient populations whose genetic legacies still resonate today. From the groundbreaking discovery of the Qianyuan individual to the north-south divide that defined early populations, and from the transformative impact of agriculture to the dynamic exchanges along the Silk Road, ancient genomes have opened a new window into the past. But beyond the scientific revelations lies a deeper truth. The past is alive within each of us. The genetic patterns uncovered in China aren't just lines on a map or data points on a chart. They are the echoes of ancestors whose choices, challenges, and triumphs shape the world we live in. These findings remind us that humanity's story is one of connection, adaptation, and shared history. As research continues to evolve, the possibilities are endless. What other secrets lie hidden within the DNA of ancient populations? What new insights will emerge as technology advances? Every discovery adds another layer to the story, bringing us closer to understanding not only the history of East Asia but the broader story of humanity itself. And so, the question remains, if the DNA of a single individual can unlock so many secrets, what more might we uncover if we continue to look deeper? The answers are out there, waiting to be revealed, hidden in the very fabric of who we are.